Welcome to the June edition of Harford Magazine. Once again, we're doing this edition a little bit differently due to safety concerns regarding COVID-19. We want to maintain social distancing to keep the safety of our guests and our crew at bay. Now, with that being said, we have a great story to tell you about the Fisher House Foundation. This foundation has saved families of veterans millions of dollars in transportation and lodging costs so they can visit their loved ones who are spending time being treated in the hospital. Their story is straight ahead. I'm Kristy Breslin, and this is Harford Magazine. Mike Lehman joins me now. He is the CEO of the Perry Point Fisher House. He's here to tell us all about this wonderful organization, a new Fisher House that's being built, and a really exciting cycling event that everyone is invited to participate in. Hi, Mike. Thanks so much for being with us today.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Now, Mike, tell me about the Fisher House Foundation at Perry Point.
Over 20 years, we've been building these Fisher houses, these places where families can go. And when a service member or the veteran visits a hospital, a medical facility, and there's a place for them to stay, and a really nice place too. It's like a hotel or a Ronald McDonald's house, but it's for free. So the Fisher House puts the building up and these suites and furnishes it with beautiful furnishings, and then turns it over to the Veterans Administration, and who operates the house. And so there's one of these proposed at Perry Point, Maryland. There's already over 80 Fisher houses right now.
Wow.
Around the world, more being built all the time, and so there's a group, community groups that were formed, and we're going to form a community group to, number one, help fund the Fisher House as it's being built, only assist. Then we will this group will evolve into one that supports the manager of the Fisher House after it's built. The manager will be a Veterans Administration employee, and we'll provide things like food and so forth, and assist the manager in operating the Fisher House.
So, Mike, who actually started the Fisher House? Where did this concept come from?
It came from a person by the name of Zachary Fisher. He was a construction Mongol in New York City, and he and his wife Elizabeth, he built buildings. He came up with the idea that he could build buildings and call them Fisher houses to support the military and families as they visited the medical facilities.
Now, Mike, let's talk a little bit more in detail on how they do support these families when you do have a veteran that is in Perry Point or one of the other locations.
The Fisher House itself builds the building and furnishes the buildings, then turns it over to the agency. In this case, it's going to be the Veterans Administration. For military installation, it would be the hospital that supports that installation. So it'd be the Navy or the Air Force or the Army primarily, and they turn it over to those agencies who operate the Fisher House. So where we come in, we will support that manager, the person who's operating the Fisher House, with funding and primarily provide somebody who can be with the families as they undergo a very special time in their lives, their loved ones in the hospital.
Well, Mike, if anyone in the community wanted to make a donation and they did make that donation, what would those dollars be used towards? I know you have various programs that you're offering.
Currently, if they were to donate to this effort, and I have a little sign here, cycleforheroes.us, and so if you go to cycleforheroes.us, and there'll be a link there that goes directly to the Fisher House Foundation. And all monies go to the Fisher House Foundation currently, and they are used, earmarked for Prairie Point effort. And the funds at some point, when we get enough funds to construct a house at Prairie Point, then those funds will be used to help do that. After the Fisher House is constructed at Prairie Point, then we'll provide a group, call it a community group, Friends of Fisher House Community Group, which will support the manager of the Fisher House. And we'll raise funds so we can be with the veterans and their families as they visit the house. We might put on a Christmas party. We could make dinners for them. We'll work on a landscaping outside. We could fund taxi rides downtown so they can get an evening meal. And so this is the group that we will form as the Fisher House is going up.
Well, Mike, you're doing some wonderful things over there. We're really excited to hear about the new construction. And then coming up later in the show, I know we're going to talk to Ricky. He's going to talk more about the Cycles for Heroes. We're going to talk about the new construction and really what it's like to be part of this wonderful foundation. And since I have you here, tell me about your experience. And I know you're a cycler from what I understand.
Yes, I've been cycling for many years, and come up with this idea that similar to the Tour de France, that they want to make money with the Tour de France. Well, we want to make money, of course, but we also want to provide it to the Fisher House Foundation. So we use the color and the curiosity that the sport of cycling provides, similar to the Tour de France. And what we're trying to do is market the interests of the military veterans and their families, the Veterans Administration, of course, the Fisher House Foundation, cycling. We want to promote the sport of cycling, and of course, our donors and sponsors. So that's what it's all about. We want to get the word about Fisher House Foundation, and we use cycling to do that.
Okay, well, Mike, thank you so much for being with us. And we're really excited about the new construction and, of course, about the big cycling event in September.
Sure enough. So visit us at cycleforheroes.us, and you can help us. There'll be a link there. You can go directly to Fisher House Foundation. There'll also be a link where you can sign up to cycle or volunteer to help us form the 501c3 organization and volunteer on the 19th of September for an event at Prairie Point, which is a beautiful site, by the way. It's overlooking the Susquehanna Flats there and the Susquehanna Bay. And come out and join us on the 19th of September. We have a ton of fun.
Mike, thank you so much. I know a lot of cyclists are going to be really excited about the event. One more time, show us the website, how we can get more information.
Cycleforheroes.us.
Okay, Mike, thank you so much. And coming up next, we're going to talk to the Chief of Social Work from the VA Maryland Healthcare System. He's going to tell us about the new Fisher House being built and more information on what we can do as a community to help out this wonderful organization and all the good deeds that they're doing. Stay with us.
Staying at a hotel is not the same thing as staying at the Fisher House.
The Fisher House, I know, is a huge part of Blaine's recovery.
For somebody like my husband or any military person, for them to know that their family members are being taken care of, that's a huge burden off of them, so they can concentrate on their therapies.
Just having that assurance that no matter what, as long as we were there for Anson, that someone would be there to take care of us. It took so much weight off our shoulders.
I'm now joined with Chris Buser, who is the Chief of Social Work here for the VA Maryland Healthcare System. He's joining us via Zoom to tell us about all the good work that they're doing and about a very exciting new development. Hi, Chris.
Hello.
Now, Chris, tell me about the VA Maryland Healthcare System.
Sure. Well, the VA Maryland healthcare system is a rather dynamic healthcare system. We're comprised of 3 medical centers, one at Baltimore, one at Loch Raven, and our third up at the Perry Point location. And we also have a number of outpatient clinics at Fort Meade, Glen Burnie, Eastern Baltimore County, and we serve the Eastern Shore of Maryland with clinics at Cambridge and at Pocomoke City. So we offer a lot of different locations, and across all those services, we offer a wide array of healthcare options, from primary care, women's health, inpatient surgical services, and medicine, all kinds of outpatient, specialty care, and a lot of case management services for our veterans who need assistance in reintegrating back into civilian life.
Now, Chris, tell me, how do you become eligible to retain these services? I know that there's quite a few veterans out there.
Yeah, so there are millions of veterans out there. Some basic eligibility criteria for our veterans is that obviously they served honorably in the military. Typically that is for 2 or more years, but we do make exceptions for veterans who served maybe from the National Guard or the Army Reserve, who were called up for maybe like a 1-year period of service, like would be similar in Iraq or Afghanistan. And so, we encourage all of our veterans, whether they have enrolled previously or not, to inquire with us. All of our locations can help with enrollment and determining their eligibility.
Now, speaking of new locations, you've been chosen to develop a new site. So let's talk about this.
We are very excited that the Fisher House Foundation has picked the VA Maryland Healthcare System to be one of its locations to have a new house. They've actually targeted our Perry Point VA Medical Center to be the location for that house, which I think is a wonderful place for it to be, because we have a lot of residential programs up there. And we're also going to be building a new community living center and hospice and palliative care unit on that campus. So this will work really well for our veterans and their caregivers.
Now, who exactly will this site serve? I know that, it's Perryville, so it's not exactly close to Baltimore. So with that being said, if we do have family members that are staying up in Perry Point, how are they going to get there? Is there any transportation methods that you're offering?
Yeah, just because the house is going to be located on the Perry Point campus doesn't mean that only the veterans and caregivers of that Perry Point community will be served. We do have shuttle services that link us to Baltimore and to the Loch Raven campuses. So if you have a loved one who is hospitalized at Baltimore or Loch Raven, the caregiver could stay at the Fisher House there at Perry Point and ride our shuttle services back and forth. It will certainly help reduce a lot of the travel requirements upon that family member and help to reduce a lot of the costs that would be associated with that. So no wear and tear on their vehicles, also them not having to pay to stay in hotels. So all that kind of helps to reduce the burden on the caregiver and the veteran, which really, I think, helps promote healing in the long run.
Now, Chris, in your opinion, you did touch on this just a little bit, but what are the benefits of having family members there during medical treatment, recovery, and obviously they can be there for end-of-life situations too, right?
So there are multiple benefits. So for some of our veterans, it's going to be because they are hospitalized and going through a course of treatment. So having their caregiver with them is very reassuring, helps to reduce stress for the veteran, helps to reduce stress and burden upon the caregiver. Also, some of our veterans are going to be there for end of life. And so we want to facilitate, the ease of visitation during that time. It also helps to reduce the cost for the veteran and their caregiver. Again, they won't have to worry about driving, to and from. They don't have to worry about the cost of a hotel that's associated with this. And we know from studies that by reducing that burden upon the veteran and the caregiver, that we help to improve healthcare outcomes.
Well, let me ask you this. I know that you offer a lot of programs. I know that the families can participate in these programs. But if someone isn't enrolled or they're interested in enrolling in the VA Maryland healthcare system, how would they do that?
There's several different ways that they can go about enrolling into the VA. One is just to visit, a location. Obviously, right now we're going through our COVID crisis, so maybe coming to the VA is not, what you want to do. But you can go online to enroll. So you can go to va.gov, select our location to enroll. They can also mail in their forms to us. We are still, accepting mailed-in applications, the 1010 easy enrollment forms that are there, and they can also call us, and we will help walk them through that process. So there's no reason that this current situation has to stop them from accessing their benefits with the VA.
That's fantastic. One more question for you, Chris. When do you think the Perry Point Fisher House will be completed?
So I don't have an exact date for when the construction is supposed to start. They are supposed to come out and do our site visit in the next several months, so we'll get a better idea at that point. But I think it'll probably coincide a little bit with the construction of our new community living center and palliative and hospice care center. So I think the timing will work out just fine.
Thank you so much, Chris. It was great having you, and we're really excited to have this new Fisher House in our area.
Great. Well, thank you, Kristy.
Well, coming up next, all the cycling fans better listen up because we have a great opportunity for a great cause. Those details are straight ahead. I'm joined with Ricky Ng, and of course, we are doing the interview via Zoom because of these trying times that we're in these days. But Ricky has graciously offered to be here with us today to tell us about a very exciting event to benefit our veterans. Ricky, thanks for being here.
Great to be here. Thank you.
We're very excited to hear about your role within the Fisher House. So tell us a little bit about that.
Okay. Well, it's my pleasure to be here. My role is basically to help with Cycling for Heroes. It's a group that Mike Lehman has set up, I guess, for the last 7 or 8 years. I started out originally as one of the cyclists that participated. And after that, I just kind of fell into a role to help Mike set up the race course itself and actually take photographs of all the participants and the activities ever since then.
Now, when did Cycling for Heroes start? Was this a new venture, or is this something that's been happening for quite some time?
I believe it started back in 2012 or 2013 down in Aberdeen. I think it was down at the Vineyards originally, and that took us through quite a bit of Bel Air and Aberdeen itself, riding around. It was a fun activity, and we had a lot of cyclists that came and joined to participate in the ride. They were usually very nice days. It was well supported, and Mike and the other volunteers just did an awesome job in setting up and having food stations and aid stations throughout the entire day. And it seemed like a good cause to help with the Fisher House, to help fund the construction of the Fisher House, to basically provide veterans' families someplace close by to stay when the veterans were being treated at the facility. So I believe it's no cost to them to stay there, and it saves them quite a bit of money. It's a trying time for them when you have a loved one that's undergoing treatment. And it's just one less burden, hopefully, for the family, especially when they have a little kid.
Now, let me ask you this, Ricky. When you sign up for the bike ride, number one, do you have to raise money to ride, or how does that work? Or do people just give you donations for the families?
We don't require a registration fee. The ride is free. If you'd like to donate to the Fisher House, you're welcome to do that. So initially, I think a lot of the people just ride, and after the ride, they may decide to contribute something to the Fisher House because it's a good cause. I remember when I did it, I donated originally some dollars to it, and eventually I asked Mike if there's other ways that I could participate. So I've been involved with it on and off for many years, and it's a great cause. And it's an opportunity to give back to the community and to the veterans that have given so much to all of us.
Oh, absolutely. And it sounds like the ride itself is a lot of fun. How long is the ride?
You could do, I believe, a 25. There's a shorter ride for the families, like about 6 miles. And then for the really adventurous, there's a 62-mile ride.
Oh, wow.
And that's called a metric century.
Let me ask you this. When is the ride? And is this something that you only do once a year? At
this point, we're only doing it once a year. And it's quite a logistics effort for Mike to get it set up. It's a Saturday typically. The 62-mile folks start about 7:30. People that are doing the 25-mile ride usually start a little bit later, perhaps 9 o'clock. The family fun ride, it's usually 5 or 6 miles, something like that. And they can start anytime they want. The course is pretty well laid out. Mike does an awesome job in setting up the signs and putting them out there. People have the cell phone number for Mike, so if they have a flat tire or they have a problem, Mike will usually go out and go grab them. I remember one year somebody had a flat tire. Mike had to go get them.
Oh,
So
he's a good guy. Well, Ricky, how can we get involved? How can we donate? How can we sign up to ride in the Cycling for Heroes?
if you take a look at the Facebook page, do a quick search on Cycling for Heroes, you'll find the Facebook site for that. And there's a link to the website where you can contribute whatever you can. It's not mandatory. We're happy for people just to come out and do the ride to show their support for the veterans and their families. You don't have to contribute, but if you feel so inclined, awesome. But it's really more to show support for the veterans and their families who have given so much.
And as you said, all for a good cause. Well, Ricky, thank you so much for joining us today. And we're really excited about the ride and obviously contributing to these heroes that you're telling us about.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Now, coming up next, we're going to speak to the Vice President of Communications, also a 28-year veteran. Stay with us.
Staying at a hotel is not the same thing as staying at the Fisher House.
The Fisher House, I know, is a huge part of Blaine's recovery.
For somebody like my husband or any military person, for them to know that their family members are being taken care of, that's a huge burden off of them, so they can concentrate on their therapies.
Just having that assurance that no matter what, as long as we were there for Anson, that someone would be there to take care of us. It took so much weight off our shoulders.
I'm now joined with Brian Gaughan. He is the Vice President of Community Relations for the Fisher House Foundation, and he's here to talk to us about the major expansion that we're going to see shortly and the many Fisher Houses that we have right here in Maryland. Hi, Brian.
Hello, it's a great day to be here.
So, Brian, tell me about your role within the Fisher House.
Well, I'm the Vice President for Community Relations for Fisher House, which means I'm the liaison to the existing 87 Fisher Houses across the country and overseas, as well as those new locations where we're going to build, like Perry Point.
I'm pretty excited about that. That sounds like that's a wonderful spot, obviously. Now, Brian, I want to talk a little bit more about you. You've served 28 years as a veteran, correct?
Yeah, I did 28 years in the Navy, most of that time flying F-14s off aircraft carriers.
Wow. And is that what inspired you to become so involved with the Fisher House?
It really is. You remember times when my sailors would have problems, medical problems, and I realized there's some things I just couldn't do when I wore the uniform that I could do now.
Now, tell us about the actual purpose of having a Fisher House. Why is it so important?
A Fisher House is a place where the family members of a patient receiving care at a VA or military medical center can stay for free while their loved one receives care. Now, there's no cost to the family. The houses are beautifully furnished and provide a welcoming environment during a difficult time. Most importantly, they allow loved ones to be at the bedside of their veteran and participate in the recovery process.
We touched on it a little bit earlier, but kind of walk me through the structure of a Fisher House. I mean, exactly how big is it? What can we expect to see?
Today, our main model is about 16 suites. It's about 14,000 square feet. So 16 suites, each family would have their own bedroom, their own shower, handicap accessible, a common dining room, a couple common sitting areas, and a common kitchen where the families can congregate. They can eat together. They can, meet each other at the beginning of the day before they head over to the hospital to see their loved ones, and then meet each other at the end of the day when they come back and try and get some nourishment, some rest before they do it all over again the next day.
Well, as we all know, family is everything, and you definitely want your loved ones with you in a time of crisis. Now, these Fisher Houses, I know you said there's 87. How long does it take to actually build a Fisher House?
We complete the house within 9 to 15 months of when we break ground. So we're pretty quick about it.
And what is the cost to building one of these? Obviously, it's going to be pretty expensive.
Well, yeah, depending on the location, how complex the site preparation is, around $6.5 to $7.5 million.
Wow. Well, it obviously makes a difference, obviously, for our veterans, for their families. Do you have any personal stories that you can share? Maybe some words of encouragement?
I have a lot of stories. How long have you got?
Well, we like the positive. We want to hear the positive.
You know, here's an amazing one. One time I was visiting the house and sat down at a table with some of the families. It was around dinner time, and folks had come back to the hospitals. And sometimes the veterans are released, depending upon the type of care they have. You know, they may be having cancer treatment, and they're released after their treatment, or they have recurring things, so they have to go back. I sat at a table with a 19-year-old Iraq vet and his wife, a 65-year-old Vietnam vet, and a 90-year-old World War II vet at the same table.
Wow.
All people who served our country, and their family members were there, watching the three of them carry on, just the camaraderie. I mean, the beauty of the VA healthcare system, veterans are treated with other veterans, you know, and they open up and they'll tell things. The Vietnam vet said things he'd never told even his wife about. With those other two, they shared it. And then the families, to be there with other families that are going through the same type of thing. I mean, they've got a loved one in the hospital. They're scared. You know, not every story has a happy ending. And to see strangers who'd never met each other meet in that house, comfort one another, you know, come back at the end of the day, hey, how's your husband doing? Is he doing all right? Did that surgery go well? And they look after each other. They cook for one another. And sometimes, particularly when there's recurring treatment, when they come back 6 months, every few months, whatever, they may make lifelong friends. And I've seen that on more than one occasion where families that never would have met otherwise, different race, different hometown, different backgrounds, become just lifelong friends.
Oh, see, that's great to hear. Now, let me ask you this, Brian. What is the typical stay for a family at the Fisher House?
You know, it depends on the type of treatment. You know, sometimes if they're traveling and trying to get care and they come from miles away, they may just be there for an appointment. Others, if they're having cancer treatment or spinal rehab or something, a very serious injury, they can be there for months. Our record is 4 years for someone that was being treated for a spinal injury down at Brooke Army Medical Center.
Brian, what words of encouragement or what could you say to our viewers out there to kind of encourage them to donate to the Fisher House? I know we touched on this a little bit, but exactly what is the money being donated used towards?
Just here within Maryland, we already have 7 Fisher Houses. We've got 5 at Walter Reed, you know, at Bethesda. We've got one at Andrews Air Force Base. We've got one in Silver Springs that supports the houses at Walter Reed. You know, what you're providing is an opportunity to family to be there for their loved ones who served us. You know, I encourage people to go to our website, fisherhouse.org, and learn more about us. I also would encourage people to support folks like Mike out there and look up Cycling for Our Heroes on Facebook and find out more about what we do and how you can help.
Brian, thank you again so much for being here, and thank you for everything that you've done. We're really excited to see the new Fisher House in Perry Point.
Well, we're looking forward to bringing a Fisher House to that medical center.
Well, the Fisher House has done wonderful things for us around the country. We have 7 Fisher Houses here in Maryland. Now, looking at the numbers, 400,000 families served, $500 million saved in transportation and lodging, and 9.5 million families have gotten lodging from the Fisher House Foundation. So if you would like to learn more about them or even make a donation, you can always visit their website at fisherhouse.org. I'm Kristy Breslin. See you next month on Harford MagaScene.